And so there we have it. Ballyboden St Endas have been beaten by Kilmacud Crokes by a scoreline of 115-1-8. This is the match reaction. A very comfortable win in the end for Kilmacud Crokes. A very deserved win, no doubt about it. They were a better team from start to finish, in my opinion. And they obviously go ahead and book themselves into the Dublin Senior Football Championship final alongside St Jude's. This game was actually very similar in many ways to the earlier game between St Jude's and Luke and Sarsfields. If anyone went and seen that match reaction, it'll be out on the channel already if you go and have a look. But yeah, it was a very similar game. Like, Kilmacud Crokes started very, very fast. They came out of traps. Both sides were a little bit defensive to begin with. It was a little bit cagey early on. A couple of early scores from Paul Mannion, a couple of frees from Ryan Basquel. Both sides kind of going toe to toe, trading blow to blow and whatnot. But like, Kilmacud Crokes, once they really settled and once they got into the game, you could tell that they were by far the better side. I mean, there was a spell really from, I would say, after the water break to the end of the first half where Kilmacud Crokes just started to build up that lead. And really, like, for Ballyboden St Endas, it's another one of those games. It's actually very similar, you know, in many ways to when they played Ballymun-Kickums in the county final last year. It just seems to be like, in the odd kind of occasion or the odd game, they just don't seem to be at the races whatsoever. And they're really, other than the last few minutes, they've never really looked in this game whatsoever. I mean, at the end of the game, it was already over at that point. Like, let's be perfectly honest. But like, at the end of the game, you seen they were floating a couple of long balls in. They were creating a couple of opportunities. They had a couple of goal chances. They nearly got a second goal there towards the end. You were kind of wondering why they didn't do that anytime sooner. But from a Kilmacud Crokes point of view, like, started very, very fast. Paul Mannion with a couple of points. He was very impressive. Hit 4 points on the day. A couple of them from place balls, 3 of them from place balls. Like, just, and it wasn't even his scoring, to be fair. Like, it was his contribution, his movement all around the pitch. His support play was absolutely brilliant. He won a couple of frees for his team as well in big positions, and he was absolutely brilliant, no doubt about it. Dan O'Brien was another very good player as well. He played the long ball up to Shane Cunningham, who obviously dispatched that goal very comfortably just towards the end of the first half. So he was very impressive as well, especially from that wing-back position. Like, got forward a couple of times. I think he scored a point as well from what I remember. So he was quite impressive, no doubt about it. So from Kilmacud, they just controlled the play. For Ballyboden and Anthony Rainbow, obviously their manager, like, you were kind of looking at it at the end of the first half and thinking, like, something needs to change. Maybe they need to push Ross McGarry a little bit further up the pitch, or be a little bit more attacking, be a little bit more adventurous. But they just weren't. They weren't at all. Like, and it was very similar to Ballymun-Kickums last year, where they just didn't look like they were at the races at all. And like, you'd look at the scoreline and think, oh, they scored 1-8. So, you know, maybe they weren't too far behind in the game, but they had 5 points going into the final couple of minutes. Like, the goal and 2 points late on really made the scoreline a lot more respectable. So, like, again, like, with the talent that they have in terms of Ryan Basquel and obviously, you know, Colm Basquel, Ross McGarry as well, like, plenty of talent in that team. But for whatever reason, when it's come to it in the Dublin Championship last year and this year as well, they just haven't quite been able to put in the same kind of performances consistently. They just seem to have these kind of off days. And I don't know if it's something got to do with their training, maybe leading up to these games, or preparation, or what it is. I'm not too sure. But, you know, because clearly the talent is there. There's no doubt about that. But you can't take anything away from Kilmacud Crokes. They were really, really well on it. The pressure that they put on Ballyboden from their kickouts, I thought, was brilliant. They were overturning them time and time again. Ballyboden really struggled to get out of their own half. And the likes of Paul Mannion, Shane Cunningham, Tom Fox were just able to turn the ball over, kick a couple of points for themselves, and really just kick on from there. And like, in the second half, it was a bit disappointing in some ways, because you were expecting this to be a bit of a rip-roaring game, a great advertisement for Dublin football. But in the second half, it really just died out. You know, going into the final 10 to 15 minutes, you could really tell that Kilmacud were going to see this game through. Like, Ballyboden needed to do something different, and they couldn't get out of third gear. Like, let's be perfectly honest. Just running through some of the scores on the day, I suppose, from a Kilmacud Crokes point of view. Shane Cunningham, he scored 1-2. Paul Mannion with 4 points. Tom Fox with 2 points. Darragh Mullen with 2 points. Conor Ferris with 2 points. Shane Horan with a point. Dan O'Brien with a point. And Hugh Kenny with a point as well. So plenty of scores on the day from a Kilmacud Crokes point of view. And I think Hugh Kenny was actually very impressive as well. He picked himself up in a couple of good positions at different times, and probably was a little bit unlucky actually not to have more than a point on the day. For Ballyboden, you know, in the first half, I think they finished the first half with like three points, and it was Ryan Basquel who scored 2 points. Conal Keaney, to be fair, wasn't really in the game as much as you'd want to see him. I mean, given like the man is nearly 40, I mean, like the fact he's even still playing just is incredible. But like when he actually got the ball, he was making things happen. He kicked 2 points. He was actually quite impressive when he was on the ball, but obviously, you know, Conal Keaney doesn't have the legs to be running all across the pitch. So you need to give him the ball, you need to get him on the ball. And they just, they didn't do so enough, in my opinion. Ross McGarry with a point, Colin Basquel with a point, Darren Nelson with a point as well. And Simon Lambert obviously got that goal late on, very much a consolation goal. And like even Ross McGarry a couple of times as well, like, and, you know, he was getting himself into a couple of good opportunities, put one wide that you would have normally seen him scored. Like there was opportunities there from Ballyboden at different stages in the game, and it did look like they were rushing their opportunities rather than maybe working the ball a little bit more. But you can't take anything away from Kilmacud Crokes. I thought it was a very impressive performance from them. They march on into the final, a repeat of the 2018 final between Kilmacud Crokes and St. Jude's. So, you know, going to be a very interesting game. St. Jude's, they haven't won a county title in their history. And they've come so close down the years. They've come so close, most notably in 2018 against Kilmacud Crokes. So it should make for a cracking game, no doubt about it. Kilmacud Crokes, very dominant. Paul Mannion looking very impressive. I mean, I'd love to see him put on a Dublin jersey next season, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure some of you lads might have seen his interview after the game, where certainly the reporter was trying her best anyways to see if he would commit to Dublin next year. But obviously he's not going to announce that on the interview. But I can understand it from her point of view, because it will be a huge story if he just turned around and said, yeah, I'm coming back next year. But obviously that's not going to happen. Well, he's not going to admit it there anyways. But yeah, anyways, this was the match reaction anyway, the live match reaction. I'm going to start doing more live match reaction for these club games as well. Couple of games on in Mayo tomorrow, so I'm going to be having a look at that. I'm going to be rewatching the Knockmore game against Gary Moore as well, so there'll be a reaction out to that tomorrow. And I've seen someone commenting as well about one of the Donegal final tomorrow on TG Cahir. I'll definitely be doing a reaction to that, the Kilkenny final as well. So yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. There'll be a number of previews out next week for the Armagh final, the Galway final, the Dublin Hurling final, the Tipperary final. So a whole host of content for all you lads to enjoy. And yeah, if you could leave a like and subscribe, I would kindly appreciate it. And yeah, shout out to the sponsors of the channel as well. Declan Kirby, GA Star, great children's books, no doubt about it, for great children's books in terms of GA and getting involved in the GA. So if you could check them out in the link in the description down below, I'd very much appreciate it. My name's Aaron. I'll see you all on the next one.